remember being at the airport, not knowing if I would see any of my family members ever again. I knew I was traveling, but at a very young age, I didn't know that I would be staying here. My brother, I don't remember much of my brother, but I know he was there because of photos that were taken that day. We were all at the airport, my uncles, aunts, cousins, whole family was there because they knew I wasn't going to come back for a very long time. But I didn't know that. People were crying, and I started crying because I was scared. My sister, she was 3 years old, so she didn't know what was going on. My mom, I was mainly scared for my mom because she was crying. Seeing my mother cry it's really hard. A couple months after I arrived, I started going to John Eaton Elementary School in Cleveland Park. I remember for the first few weeks straight, I would just be in class, just crying, because I'm a 6-year-old boy, don't know any English, in a country where it's mainly spoken English, and I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel like I belonged there because I figured, oh, we're gonna go back in a couple weeks to Argentina, so why am I still here? Why am I going to school here? Turned out that my visa lasted 21 days. So ever since then, I've been in the United States as an undocumented immigrant. In 2012, Barack Obama presented a new program. It's called DACA, but it stands for it's DACA. It stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It's a program for children who arrived in the United States before, I think, June of 2007 and who were 16 years or younger and had no criminal history. So I was perfect for it. In 2012, I applied for it. I received it a year later in 2013. The process is supposed to take 6 months, but for some reason, mine got held back and I wasn't able to receive it for double the time. Ever since I started working, I've been paying bills at home. All throughout high school, my parents were struggling to pay the rent. It was just month after month, week after week, paycheck by paycheck. Growing up as a child who was the only one that spoke English in the family meant that I had to pretty much translate for my parents for everything. Whether it's going to the store with them, or paying the bills, or going with my dad to do taxes. I translated everything for them, so I knew how everything was. As a child, I knew we were struggling with money. I knew that we were behind on rent or a certain bill. It was hard. I remember one day the rent got to be so much for my father that he couldn't pay it. And my mom at the time worked for a family taking care of their kids. And we ended up having to ask them to give my mom an advance of $1,000 some for the rent. And as a child, that was the hardest thing I had to do, because I had to watch my mom cry in front of me while I was translating to some lady that I don't know for money. And my mom ended up working for that lady for a year at least just to pay off what she borrowed from her. Things were, at home, they were pretty good. I'd say for most families I had a decent life compared to other kids. But it was still hard. It was still difficult. My family still didn't have any legal papers. We were still living here as undocumented immigrants. My father worked as a construction worker, and my mom worked as a nanny. My father, his construction company agreed to sponsor him. So when you get sponsored, you're able to get a lawyer and see if you can get your citizenship or at least your residency. So my dad did that with the company's lawyer. Company lawyer ended up stealing from my father around $7,000. For the past 2 years, he's been trying to contact this lawyer so my dad could get his information. Because according to her, she applied for him for a work permit at least. We know that much. So we're trying to see if we can get that information from her. But she's changed her phone number, she moved addresses, it's like she fell off the face of the earth. Me and some other undocumented immigrants that I know, when we see people who have an opportunity to go to college and they just throw it away, we just think to ourselves, why can't I be in that position? And they have no idea what people in my situation would do to have to be in their shoes, to have those opportunities, to not have a worry in life other than homework. I'm going to be in school a lot longer than I'm probably going to be one of the last people in our graduating class to graduate college. Not because I'm not smart enough, but because I can't afford it. Even right now, this is going to be my last semester for a little while because I can't pay off my loan in time. I'm not going to be able to. It'll be hard for me to do all that, to just finish college. But I will. I will. I, I've always wanted to go to college. I've always wanted to. I just knew that I wouldn't be able to go straight in. But through high school, I was on the outside at least. It looked like I was just a regular student. I ended up having a bicycle accident. I broke my forearm in high school towards halfway through my senior year. And at that point, I had couple months afterwards, I ended up having a meeting with all of my teachers involved. My mom had to be there as well. The meeting was about college and my grades. Not so much my grades, but more about college. At that point, I didn't apply to a single college because I thought to myself, what's the point? And so my mom had to be there, and it was all of my teachers, from English to math to college counselor or whatever. Even Miss Smith was there. And she had to explain to them that I was an undocumented immigrant. Miss Latham, I think she was the only one that knew at the time, but my mom thought that it was time for all of my teachers to know what was really going on and why I wasn't applying to college. And that was when all of my teachers knew about it. Friends, not a single friend knew about it, knew that I was an undocumented immigrant. They've all asked me about it, like, dude, you're from Argentina, like, how are you here? And I'd tell the truth, but I'd bend it. I'd say I came here on a visa, but I wouldn't tell them that it expired. In high school, it isn't something that I was open about. It was something that I wouldn't say ashamed of it, but it was something that I just didn't want anyone to know. I felt embarrassed in that meeting with all my teachers when my mom said that, because I knew I was practically the only one in my graduating class not able to go to college because of their immigration status. But ever since I graduated and I told my friends about it, I embrace it now because I learned so many things from it. I learned what it meant to make a sacrifice. I know what it means to go to college now. I know what it, once I receive that, if hopefully someday I receive that green card, to some people it will mean just a green card. But to me, it'll mean the world. Because the floodgates are going to open for me. I'm going to be able to travel everywhere. I'm going to be able to study abroad, work abroad, see my family again, meet my family for the first time. That's mainly what I'm looking forward to. It's funny how a set of numbers can open just so many doors. For me to find motivation is just to look at my little sister. Because someday I will be taking care of her. And I want her to have the best.